What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Royal Figures Talk Show on my YouTube channel, where we have 10,000 plus subscribers strong. I have memberships active on my YouTube channel right now that you can sign up to support the channel for any of the 4 tiers. You can pay for the rookie tier level, the veteran tier level, the all-star tier level, or the superstar tier level. Go ahead and support your boy. Now, this one right here, we're going all the way to doing a reaction video on the Nightcap Show with my boy Shannon Sharp and Ocho, Chad Johnson. Let's get into it as they talk about Coach Prime and his difficult loss as they got blew out by Nebraska last night. Let's get into it.
Dominated from start to finish, jumped out to a 28-0 lead. Last week, Coach Prime told the home crowd team was one step closer to reaching a bowl game. And he said in January his team was definitely going to be a contender in the college football playoff. Saturday night, the second game, it did not look good. Either offense or defensive line played well. The running game still is non-existent, 22 carries, 16 yards. The Buffs in the second half, they did get
catch that. The Colorado Buffaloes running game was non-existent. 22 carries for only 16 yards. Now that's negative. That's negative. 22 carries and 16 yards. If you cannot run the ball, which the running game is designed to help protect your quarterback and to keep the defense honest. If the defense know you can't run the ball and all you can do is pass, what you think that's going to happen? What you think is going to happen to Shedeur Sanders? They're going to keep applying pressure after pressure after pressure. If they know that you don't have an offensive line, if they know that you don't have a running game, it's going to be a long game for you, period.
Get on the scoreboard, they score 10 points, they lose 28-10. Ocho, I don't know how much of this game you saw. I saw it.
I would listen.
Go ahead.
Honestly, Unc, I felt watching the offseason, watching the recruiting process, seeing some of the players that left and some of the players that were coming, my thoughts had completely changed on me thinking the Colorado Buffs were going to look a little different. Now, the important part for them in being able to compete with the schools that are better would be the interior, the offensive line and the defensive line. And after watching today's game, and from the beginning, from the start of the game, when the Colorado Buffaloes were on offense, and number 0, whoever number 0 was, remember the movie The Program? Remember the movie The Program and Lattimore? And to watch him dominate the offensive line like that, it kind of reminded me of, okay, now we're right back at square one like we were last year. That's what it reminded me of. So the things that I thought were fixed and the issues in order for Colorado to be able to compete at the highest level and contend, I think we're right back at square one based off what I saw tonight, offensively and defensively. There's no reason Nebraska, well, there is a reason Nebraska was able to run down the throat of the Colorado defense. Right down their throat. Why? Because the interior, the defensive line, is stout enough to be able to compete with the better teams. So there's still issues that need to be fixed, and it's right there, the meat potatoes, the inside, the interior.
What Ocho said was 110% correct. Just getting right into it, man. This is like deja vu all over again. This is deja vu. We're watching the same thing that's happening that we saw last season. And you could do all the recruiting that you want in the portal and things like that. I don't see where they got better at all. I understand that it takes time, but let me tell you something. As they're going to allude to in this interview, is that when you're talking about playing at this level, it's about wins and losses. How patient the Colorado president is going to be of the athletic department is going to be in waiting for a winning season from Coach Prime. They're going to have to understand something. It's going to take time, and it's also going to take a lot of money. When I'm talking about money, I'm talking about these NIL deals. You're going to have to go after big time talent. You're going to have to beef up that offensive line, or not just beefing up, but you're going to have to get very athletic offensive line players to protect the quarterback. You're going to have to get big time defensive linemen, pass rushers on the defensive side who are able to get after the quarterback and the running back. If you don't have that in your arsenal, that's the foundation that you need. You can have the best quarterback in college football. You can have the best two-way player in college football. But if you don't have that interior on that offense and defensive line top notch, you ain't going to win.
I agree. I had concerns last week, and I told you I had concerns that I saw some of the same things that I saw last year that caused me to be concerned. And everybody, oh, it's one game. You see how you speak bad about the black coaches? No, you see how I speak true. Now I see why politicians get elected, because people like being lied to. When I tell you the truth that Colorado can't run the football, just like they couldn't run it last year. They couldn't stop the run, just like they couldn't stop it last year. They couldn't protect Shedeur, just like they couldn't last year. He's holding on to the ball too long, just like he did last year. Oh, how did you?
Now, that is true. That is true. When I was watching that game last night, Shedeur Sanders did hold on to the ball too long. You have to know that when you have pressure, these defense ain't going to care about because you're Shedeur Sanders and that you're the son of Coach Primetime. They're coming after you. They're increasing the level of play. It's a very competitive game. They're coming after you. You have to understand, Shedeur, you don't have much time to play with. You have to quickly get rid of the ball. You can't take sacks because that's going to hurt your team. That's going to hurt your field position. You have to understand that you don't have time of a good offensive line that's going to give you time to be able to check down all the way down, whether it's the third spot, the fourth spot to see who's open. Sometimes you have to do a quick 1-2, get rid of the ball. Quick 1-2, get rid of the ball. Quick 1-2, get out of the pocket, throw the ball away.
Do not look at that first game and see a lot of what happened last year. How could you see it had not reared its head? And I'm not saying that North Dakota State, that's a football team, and we're going to talk about Notre Dame, how they lost to Northern Illinois, and we see Alabama was in a nip-tuck ball game late in the fourth quarter and then blow it open. So I'm not saying that. But when you look at an FCS team and they're having success running the football, they're having success putting pressure on your quarterback, what happens when you step up in level of competition? When you go and you face teams in the Big 12, what do you think they're going to do? Because they got legit D and O line. And that's a concern. That's a concern of mine coming into the season. And I'm still
I have a question. Now, from an offensive standpoint, I think I'm not a coach by no means, but I'm just saying, based off what I've seen, and you said Shedeur holding the ball a little too long. If you have an offensive line, if you have a defensive line that is continuously sacking your quarterback and applying pressure the way they are, I'm just saying, from what I saw, I think they should have went to the quick game a little bit more. Stop spreading it out so wide, condense the formations, putting players in motion, having crossing routes so Shedeur can get the ball out of his hands and find some of the rhythm in that way to get the passing game going, instead of having them in shotgun or having them drop back or anything over 5 or 7 step drop. Just hurry up and get the ball out fast and probably get a drive and try to get a drive going just to get the quarterback in rhythm with the receivers. But I mean, listen, I didn't know. I know Nebraska is good. I think they looked a little better. They looked a little better because Colorado wasn't able to make the adjustments necessary to compete with them. Even if their players are a little better interior, and
I mean, it's Ocho, you can tell this is where he knows football. This is where the coaching come into play. Once again, offensive coordinator, the coach, Coach Primetime Sanders, you have to make adjustments. And sometimes that requires you making adjustments on the fly. You can have all the adjustments during practice and all that, but sometimes during the game, you have to throw away probably the game plan that you created, and you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly. Ocho Cinco said it best. You did not make adjustments where you make quick routes to be able to get to the receiver or running back coming from the backfield to go out on a slant or something quick enough to be able to buy Shedeur Sanders some time to get that continuity of rhythm with your wide receivers, with your running back. You have to make adjustments. And if you can't make adjustments on the fly based off on what a defense is doing to you, it's going to be a long season for the Colorado football.
In the interior. I could be wrong.
But look, Nebraska is better. Last year was Matt Rule's first year. So normally the second year, you get the players that you really want, because a lot of times you gotta keep some holdovers. Even though it's a transfer portal, guys are gonna leave and some guys are gonna come. But you need to get your guys in there, the kind of guys that you want. The offense, the defense, the type of player that you want. So it normally takes you a year or two to get your type players in there. But the Colorado went for it on fourth downs, and they lost yards. As a former NFL player, I know a thing or two about high performance.
That's it. He said it best. They went for it a couple of times on fourth down, and you couldn't even get 1 yard. What that says about your football team, what that says about your offensive line, which is a big contributing factor of that, and your running back. You can't get 1 yard. That was twice. It's ridiculous.
Again, now it's fourth.
Right.
And now they get stopped. They can't, 22 carries, 16 yards. And my thing is, look, the offensive line isn't very good. And they told us the offensive line was going to be better. They told us the defensive line is going to be better. They still can't consistently rush the quarterback, Ocho, without sacrificing their back end and bringing extra people. They can't stop the run consistently. They get gashed. Hence, they had 35 carries, $149, and 2 touchdowns. The other team, Colorado, had 22 carries, 16 yards. When you can't run the football, you can't stop the run. You can't pressure the quarterback. You can't protect your quarterback.
Yeah, Tell me how you can't. You can't. You can't. Out of everything you just named, you have to be good at least 3 of them. At least 3 of them.
What are they good at?
So what is Colorado good at right now, Ocho? Let me be honest. We can have an honest conversation, because nobody wants time to do well better than I do.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp bringing that heat. Listen. This is not Shannon Sharp bashing Coach Prime. They are close friends. But Shannon Sharp has a fiduciary duty is to analyze his football team and let the people know that his football team hasn't gotten better. He's breaking it down.
Because I know him on a personal level, and I know how much he's invested of his time. I know how much this means to him. So nobody wants him to do better than I do. But when you look at this, when you look at Colorado, and I need you to be objective, because I know a lot of us in the chat, we want time to do well. We want Coach Prime to do well. Y'all call him Coach Prime, I call him Time. But we want him to do well. Tell me one thing they're good at.
Right now, as of week 2, based on what we saw, I mean, not much. Honestly, I mean, they have the tools. They have the tools. They have the talent at the skill position. But where it matters most, and you know that, what it matters most in college, the interior, your offensive line, your defensive line. If you can't stop the run, it starts up front. If you can't protect your quarterback, it starts up front. The skill position is where the money is, and now we have that.
Right,
we have that.
But I don't mean nothing.
I'm talking about we. They're being exposed. They're being exposed because they lack depth and they lack I hate you. I keep using the same context and using meat and potatoes because that's the only thing I could think of. That's what it takes. You take some hogs. You need some hogs up front.
Point blank, period, man. You know, at the end of the day, I know Coach Prime, he means well. He has the vision. Of course, he has the vision. He has, you know, I don't know how much of the knowledge that I'm seeing far as in his coaching where to be able to make adjustments because I've yet to see that this season. Because they struggle against the first team that they played, North Dakota State. Against this team, I said it. And when you go against a better team than North Dakota State, which is Nebraska, we're going to see whether they're going to be able to handle an elite team like Nebraska, even though Nebraska may not be ranked, but Nebraska is one of the favorites. They're probably going to, you know, be one of them top teams in college football. You can see it. They have a great quarterback. He struggled in the second half, big time, but their defense, their offense is elite. And they're going to be a problem to deal with this season in college football. But back to Colorado Buffaloes, it's going to be a struggle. And if they don't figure things out very soon, your next game, you're going to be spiraling down and you're going to start looking up 5, 6, 7, 8 games in where it's not going to go good for you. And if you're not getting better in wins and losses and you have the same record that you did last season, that's not a good season. That's not a good season. And the responsibility and accountability is going to fall on the head coach first, and it's going to trickle down in that football program. So y'all let me know y'all thoughts and what y'all thought about the game last night between the Colorado Buffaloes and the Nebraska. And we'll see you on the next video, man. Till next time, make sure you keep your head on the swivel. You know my motto, keep your head on the swivel. And stay tuned to the next Royal Figures video. Take care.